Hello there, people of the universe. My name is MichSciFi, and Happy New Year! Welcome to 2023. I hope each and every single one of you had an amazing Christmas and an equally, if not more amazing, New Year. Now, before we get into continuing the amazing New Year, I've got a lot of projects lined up for this year. We have to start with something that... It's a video I am happy to make, but would rather not be making, if that makes sense. Now, before we get into the true reason behind the title, we're going to have to start with some negative elements. DC's movie universe, as we know it, the DCEU, is heading to, I'd say, a train wreck, because the phrase is, you can't look away no matter how bad it is. Part of that phrase does fit here, you can't look away because of how bad it is. But at the same time, the DC movie universe's upcoming destruction is a train wreck I personally am not going to be witnessing, despite how interesting it would be to watch it nuke itself, if that makes sense. I went from train wreck to nuclear explosion, which, in hindsight, that kind of sums up the problems of the DC universe. It was a train wreck that could have been resolved, and now, thanks to one man I won't name, it has turned into a nuclear explosion. Now, for those who have been seeing on social media over the past couple of weeks, maybe even month and a half, despite the amazing, absolutely stupendous news of Henry Cavill announcing his return to the role of Superman following the end credit scene of Black Adam, which I personally really enjoyed as a film. It was nothing mind-blowing like this is, but it was certainly a really good film that set up the direction that the universe was heading in the sense of, we're in a good place, we've got good things coming. I mean, Dr. Fate was phenomenal, Hawkman was outstanding, Cyclone and Atom Smasher had their moments, and then all of that combined with an amazing end credit scene of Superman being back. It's the second time in a movie theatre where I've stood up and cheered, the first being Spider-Man No Way Home, when Andrew Garfield returned to the role. Though, much like Andrew Garfield's time as Spider-Man, Henry Cavill's reign as Superman has been cut short. He was fired by James Gunn. Now, while I have got many carefully chosen swear words for James Gunn, that is not what this video is about. This video is me talking about what the DCEU has meant to me. Hence the title, Thank You, Zack Snyder. There may be people watching this who are excited for the reboot, are excited for what James Gunn is doing, and have enjoyed James Gunn's entries to the DC universe. I'm happy for you. I legitimately wish you the best. But me personally, for the DC movie universe, I'm tagging out. I'm out. I don't like knowing that the man in charge has more or less told me as a fan, you're not wanted, piss off. Anyway, moving on to the positives. It's no secret that he has made, in my opinion, some of not only the best DC films, but some of the best comic book movies of all time. I will happily go on about why I think this is the greatest comic book film of all time. It truly is. I'm happy if people don't agree with that. As I say, it's all subjective, but that's my opinion. The actors that embodied these characters, Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, Ray Fisher, Ezra Miller, Jeremy Irons, Amy Adams, and so many more. They embodied these characters in a way that, for me, no one will ever come close to being as good. And it breaks my heart that we've lost them all, but at the same time it makes them all the more special to me, because Zack Snyder's Justice League and the fight to release the Snyder Cut is something I am tremendously proud to have been a part of. Yes, the media and general audiences will label us as a toxic cult, and while yes, there are some people in the fandom who are that, I know that that's not me. I'm just someone who loves these characters, loves these characters and these iterations of those characters, and will stand by them. I still vividly remember the joy I felt when I woke up from a nap and found out that the Snyder Cut had been announced. I remember screaming, erupting in a fit of joy. And then again, I remember my reaction, and some of you might as well because it's a video, when we got the first trailer at DC Fandom. And then I remember the joy when the film came out. I remember the night before, my friend Ben messaged me saying, Michael, and I was like, what? And he said, the Snyder Cut is out tomorrow. And then when it released, and we watched it, and there were so many moments where I was just cheering, shouting, smiling. I actually, to tell you the truth, recorded my reaction watching the full 4 hours. My favourite moment from that reaction is this freeze frame, which is my reaction to this scene. While it breaks my heart that we'll never see that team again, at the same time it makes me so happy that we got to see them in the way they were always envisioned. My memory of the Justice League is not a 2-hour corporate mess. It was a 4-hour behemoth of a movie that, in my opinion, was truly, truly perfect. I, hand on heart, never really cared for Superman as a character before this film. I personally, it might have been, I've said this in the past, it might have been the material I was watching just wasn't a good example, but for me, I always found him boring, overpowered, and just not very three-dimensional. But when I saw Man of Steel, when I saw Henry Cavill playing Clark Kent, Kal-El, Superman, it just resonated with me, combined with an absolutely outstanding score from Hans Zimmer, and then some amazing visuals from Zack Snyder, some truly amazing dialogue from Russell Crowe and Kevin Costner, an amazing villain in Michael Shannon's General Zod, an amazing co-lead in Amy Adams, and Lawrence Fishburne. Just thinking about it makes me want to cry, because no, we'll not focus on the negatives, we'll focus on the positives. And then moving on to Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition, a film that divided audiences, but in my opinion, BVS's biggest flaw is people's inability to understand it. I don't wish to cause any arguments with that statement, but that is genuinely what I believe this film did wrong. That, and the other element being that, for some reason that I still don't understand all these years later, hating Zack Snyder just became the cool thing to do. And sadly, Warner Brothers made it easier by butchering this film and turning it into the theatrical cut that, while isn't as bad as Justice League's theatrical cut, it is still a version of the film. It's that one. It's still a version of the film that just isn't true to what the film should be. And while I understood the theatrical cut just as much as I understand the Ultimate Edition, there are moments cut out in the theatrical cut that definitely make this film more confusing. All those things aside, I think BVS is an amazing movie. The studio wanted him to rush to a Justice League. I think he did a stellar job. Yes, we've always said, there should have been a solo Batman film, then BVS. Yeah, I agree with that. Ben Affleck's Batman never getting a solo film is going to go down in comic book movie history as a grade A war crime. That and TASM never getting a third film. Well, that and TASM 2 never getting a full, proper... Never mind, not the point. What is the point is, in my opinion, this is an amazing film. It took a Batman who was killing, and instead of just brushing over it like all the other Batman films did, looking at you, 89, it instead had the film look at Batman while he was doing this and go, hang on, you shouldn't be doing this is wrong. Revealed rather clearly by Alfred's dialogue of, everything's changed. Just that look that Alfred gives Bruce to say, what you're doing is not okay. That's the one of the many things I love about Zack Snyder's films. The dialogue is always beautiful. It doesn't hold your hand. It's not pretentious, it's just right. It takes itself seriously, and while yes, many people love comic book films to be happy and jokey, which is why the MCU has become so successful, for me, I want these films to take themselves seriously, treat these characters like the icons that they are. Another thing I love about Zack Snyder's DC films, and films in general, is he takes the characters seriously. And with his Justice League, he treats them like the behemothal, iconic characters. I don't think behemothal is even a word, but it is now. He treats these characters like the icons that they are. And I will never not be grateful for that. Moving on to this beauty, which I am so happy to be holding in my hand. Because there was a time when this was never thought possible. But it always existed, it was always real, and I will always be so grateful to the people at the studio that did listen. I could talk for the full length of the film and more about how good it is, how much I love it, how special it is. But I'll just end it with this. Zack Snyder, you'll never see this, but if you do, thank you so much. When the Snyder Cut came out, when we were fighting to get the Snyder Cut, when BVS came out, I was not in a good place mentally. I was miserable. I was trying to kill myself. But when I got to see BVS, just for the hope that I'd get some joy, which is weird given how much of a not happy film it is, when I saw it, when I saw a Batman is my icon, he's my hero, alongside the 10th Doctor. When I saw Batman struggling, crawling through the mud to eventually find himself again, from going from how much we've seen what promises are worth, how many good guys are left, to at the end, men are still good. We fight, we kill, we betray one another, but we can rebuild, we can do better. We have to. I will never not talk about how grateful I am for that, because it gave me exactly what I needed. And when the Snyder Cut came out, is and always will be one of the most special moments of my life. There's a reason I mentioned the Snyder Cut when I proposed to Lucy. Because yeah, a lot of people say, oh, it's just a film. It isn't to me. It is so much more. And while it breaks my heart that the universe is getting nuked, at the same time, I am so grateful and so proud to have been there, watched it, praised it, and most of all, fought for it. So that's why I'm going to leave this video here. Thank you so much to everyone who has not only watched this video, but watched every video I've made where I have rambled and ranted and geeked out about DC and Zack Snyder's films. I don't know if there's much point in me doing any more DCEU discussion videos. I don't really want to do the Suicide Squad for obvious reasons. I don't know if there's much point talking about Black Adam, but for the record, I enjoyed it. I thought it was brilliant. And then the next 3 films that are coming out, 4 if you include Blue Beetle, sorry, I don't think I'm going to see them because there's not really any point in my opinion. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. That canvas isn't going anywhere. But I am. So thank you guys for watching. Take care. and I will see you soon. Bye!
I'm a living legend. You ain't heard yet, you not get the message. From the moment that I stepping in, I get a couple weapons. Yeah, I turn to a beast when I'm rapping. I'm a living legend.